The claims adjuster's voice crackled through my phone speaker. Mrs. Hartwell, I'm looking at the accident report now. Your husband filed a claim for your 2019 Honda Civic. Total loss. He says you gave him permission to lend it to a friend. I stood in the parking garage of Hartford Tower, staring at the empty space where my car should have been. 3:42 p.m. Monday. The concrete still held oil stains from where I'd parked for 3 years. What friend? My voice sounded distant. A Ms. Amber Sinclair. She was driving when she ran a red light on Maple and 5th. Hit a delivery truck. Your vehicle's totaled. Ms. Sinclair has minor injuries, and your husband signed the claim form this morning. My keys were still in my purse. I left the car here Saturday morning when David said he'd drive us to brunch. He'd driven us home in his Mercedes. Never mentioned my car. Mrs. Hartwell, are you there? I'm here. I ended the call. My phone buzzed. David, working late tonight. Don't wait up. Working late. For the past 6 months, David worked late 3 nights a week. Came home smelling of perfume that wasn't mine. Started going to the gym. He'd never been to a gym in 15 years of marriage. I called the claims department directly. This is Elena Hartwell. Claim number HC 2847. I need the full accident report. Of course, Mrs. Hartwell. I'll email it right over. The report arrived as I rode the elevator up. 32 floors. I read it twice. Amber Sinclair, 24. Worked at Hartwell and Associates, David's law firm. Passenger, David Hartwell. Time of accident, 11:47 p.m. Saturday. Location, Maple and 5th. That's the theater district. The street where the Ritz-Carlton sits, all glass and gold. I knew that hotel. David had proposed to me there 17 years ago, when we were both broke law students sharing ramen and dreams. Now he was a partner. 6-figure salary. Corner office. Expensive suits. And I was Elena Hartwell, who'd put him through school working 3 jobs, who'd believed in him when no one else did, who dressed in Target clearance while he climbed toward his ambitions. The elevator opened on the 32nd floor. I stepped out into the quiet corridor. But let me take you back. To understand what happened next, you need to know how it started. 3 months earlier, the smell of fresh paint and new carpet filled David's new office. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. His name gleamed on the door. David Hartwell, senior partner. This is incredible. I set down the box of family photos I'd brought. You've earned this. He barely looked up from his computer. Did you park in visitor parking? Partner spaces are reserved. I took the bus. The bus. He said it like I'd confessed to a crime. Elena, you know how this looks? The senior partner's wife taking public transportation. My car's paid off. Why would I? Image matters. I've told you this. He stood, adjusted his tie. Hermes. I'd noticed he'd started buying designer everything. I need you to understand something. This position comes with expectations. The other partners' wives, they look a certain way, act a certain way. I looked down at my tailored dress. Respectable. Professional. 5 years old. What way should I look, David? Never mind. He returned to his computer. I have a meeting. Lock up when you leave. I placed his photos on the credenza. Our wedding picture. The 2 of us at his law school graduation. A shot from our honeymoon. A cheap weekend at a bed and breakfast. All we could afford. He'd been happy then. Laughed easily. Held my hand. The man typing furiously at his desk was a stranger wearing my husband's face. 2 months earlier, Mr. Hartwell is in a meeting. The receptionist at Hartwell and Associates barely glanced at me. Young, beautiful, wearing something expensive. I'm his wife. I just need to drop off his. He said no interruptions. She returned to her computer. I left his forgotten lunch on the desk. Homemade lasagna, his favorite. Walking to the elevator, I heard laughter from the conference room. David's voice, warm and animated, the way he used to sound with me. A woman's laugh joined his. Light, flirtatious. The elevator doors opened. I stepped inside. My reflection stared back from the polished walls. 42 years old. Graying hair I hadn't had time to color. Tired eyes. Barton store blouse. When had I stopped seeing myself? When had David? 6 weeks earlier, I found the receipt in his jacket pocket while taking clothes to the dry cleaner. The Ritz-Carlton. Presidential suite. One night. For $1,000. Our anniversary had been 2 weeks before that. David had forgotten it entirely. I sat on our bed, the bed we bought at IKEA 12 years ago, when we were still a team, and dialed the hotel. Yes, I need to confirm a reservation. David Hartwell. Late February. One moment. Keys clicking. Yes, Mr. Hartwell reserved our presidential suite for February 14th. Valentine's Day. Is there anything you'd like to add to the reservation? February 14th. Our anniversary was February 10th. No, I said. Nothing to add. I hung up, looked around our bedroom, our house, the modest 3-bedroom ranch I'd loved because we'd chosen it together. David had been pushing to move. Something bigger, more impressive. The other partners have estates. I'd resisted. This was our home. But I wasn't in our home anymore. Not really. I was in a museum of who we used to be. Which brings us back to now. To the parking garage. To my totaled car. To the claims report showing my husband in my vehicle, late at night, with a 24-year-old paralegal. I walked to my real office. Not the small home office David thought was my craft room. The real one. 32nd floor. Corner suite. The one with my name on the door. Elena Hartwell, CEO, Apex Insurance Group. My assistant, Marcus, looked up. Mrs. Hartwell, the quarterly reports are ready. And your 4 o'clock call to confirm. Thank you, Marcus. I paused at my door. Pull all policies associated with David Hartwell. Personal and business. I want everything on my desk in an hour. His eyebrows rose. Everything. Everything. Inside my office, I removed my clearance store cardigan. Underneath was a Tom Ford blouse I kept here. I swapped my Target flats for Louboutins. I'd spent 3 years playing a role. The humble wife. The woman who took the bus. Who dressed down. Who made herself small so David could feel big. He had no idea who I really was. And tomorrow, at 9 a.m. sharp, he was going to find out. The conference room smelled of expensive cologne and desperation. 9:03 a.m. Tuesday. Hartwell and Associates occupied the 18th floor, 24 floors below my office, a detail that suddenly felt significant. I dressed carefully. Vintage Chanel suit. Understated jewelry. Hair professionally styled for the first time in months. I looked like what I was, a woman who owned things. David's secretary didn't recognize me. I'm here for the 9 o'clock with David Hartwell. I kept my voice level. Your name? Elena Chun. My maiden name. The one on every business document. The one David never questioned because he'd never looked at my paperwork. One moment. She picked up the phone. Mr. Hartwell? Your 9 o'clock is here. A Ms. Elena Chun from. She glanced at my card. Her face went white. From Apex Insurance Group. Through the glass wall, I watched David's expression shift. Irritation. Then confusion. Then recognition. He stood abruptly. Knocked over his coffee. I watched the dark liquid spread across white papers. Send her in. The office was exactly as I left it 3 months ago. Family photos still on the credenza. But there was a new picture now. David with the other partners. Everyone smiling. Everyone successful. I wasn't in that photo. Elena. His voice cracked. Why did you? Sit down, David. I closed the door. Remained standing. This is a business meeting. Business? You don't. He stopped. Really looked at me. Saw the suit. The shoes. The way I carried myself. What's going on? I opened my briefcase. Pulled out a folder. Set it on his desk. Apex Insurance Group holds 7 policies connected to you. Your personal auto insurance. Your life insurance. Your malpractice insurance. The firm's general liability policy. The firm's professional liability policy. Workers' compensation. And the building's property insurance. He stared at the documents. As of 8 a.m. this morning, all 7 policies are under review for fraud. Fraud. He shot to his feet. That's insane. I haven't. You filed a claim yesterday for my vehicle. Said I gave permission for Amber Sinclair to drive it. His face drained of color. I didn't give permission, David. You forged my signature on the claim form. That's insurance fraud. A felony in this state. Elena, I can explain. Miss Sinclair was driving my car, which she wasn't authorized to drive, to a hotel, while you were in the passenger seat. The accident report shows you were both coming from the Ritz-Carlton at 11:47 p.m. on a Saturday. I pulled out another document. The same hotel where you've spent $43,000 in the past 6 months. Charged to our Joy credit card. It's not. Your firm's malpractice insurance has a morality clause. Relationships with subordinate employees violate that clause. Miss Sinclair is a paralegal. She reports to you. That makes her a subordinate. I watched him process it. Watched the successful attorney disappear and the panicked man emerge. Your personal auto policy also has a fraud clause. False claims result in policy cancellation and potential prosecution. You're bluffing. You don't have authority to. I smiled. David, who do you think owns Apex Insurance Group? Silence. My father started it 40 years ago. Small family business. I joined right after college. While you were in law school, I was building our client base. Working my way up. When Dad retired 5 years ago, I became CEO. That's impossible. You work from home. You don't have a job. You said. I said I worked from home sometimes. You assumed that meant I didn't work. I sat down, crossing my legs. I run a company with 400 employees and $800 million in annual revenue. I've been doing it from our home office and from my actual office on the 32nd floor of this building. This building, David. The one your firm rents space in. His mouth opened. No sound came out. From Apex Properties. Another family business. We own 72 commercial properties in this city, including Hartford Tower. You're my landlord? Technically, yes. Your firm pays $38,000 a month for this space. You've never been late on rent. I appreciate that. I pulled out the final document. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to withdraw the fraudulent insurance claim. You're going to pay for my car's replacement out of pocket. And you're going to end your relationship with MS. Sinclair immediately. Or what? His voice shook. Or I cancel every policy. Your firm loses its malpractice coverage. You can't practice law without it. You personally lose your auto insurance, your life insurance. The building loses its liability coverage. Your partners will have to scramble to find new policies, and with a fraud investigation on record, the premiums will be astronomical. You can't do this. I can. I own the company. I make the decisions. I stood. But David, the policies aren't why I'm here. He looked up at me. For the first time in months, really looked at me. I'm here because 15 years ago, I loved a man who had nothing but dreams. I worked 3 jobs to put him through school. I believed in him. I made myself small so he could feel big. I wore cheap clothes so he could wear expensive suits. I took the bus so he could drive a Mercedes. My voice didn't shake. I'd earned that control. And that man thanked me by forgetting our anniversary, sleeping with his paralegal, and stealing my car to take her to hotels. Elena, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I was stupid. We can fix this. No, David. We can't. I walked to the credenza, picked up our wedding photo. The man in this picture would never have done what you did. But that man's gone. You killed him when you decided I wasn't good enough anymore. I set down the photo. Face down. My lawyer will contact you about the divorce. You'll get what's fair, which is considerably less than you think you deserve. The house is in my name. The investment accounts are separate. Our joint assets will be divided, but David, you didn't bring much to this marriage except law school debt. You can't leave me with nothing. I'm leaving you with exactly what you brought, your law degree and your ambition. I picked up my briefcase. The difference is, you'll have to actually earn what comes next. No wife working 3 jobs to support you. No family money to back you. Just you and your choices. I opened the door. The insurance policies remain under review. If the investigation finds fraud, and it will, I'll have to report it to the State Bar Association. That's not revenge, David. That's just business. His face crumbled. Please. Elena. I love you. No, you don't. You love what I did for you. There's a difference. I walked out. Past the secretary who was pretending not to listen. Past the conference room where the other partners were gathering. Past the elevator. I took the stairs up 24 floors to my office. By the time I reached the 32nd floor, my phone was ringing. David. I declined the call. He called 6 more times before noon. The divorce papers arrived at Hartwell and Associates on a Friday afternoon, delivered by process server at 4:45 p.m., right when the weekly partner meeting was starting. I heard about it from Marcus, who heard from building security, who watched David's face go gray as he signed for the envelope. He tried to refuse it. Marcus said, setting my afternoon tea on the desk. Process server said that's not how it works. I didn't smile. Didn't feel triumphant. Just tired. Thank you, Marcus. Mrs. Hartwell, he paused. Ms. Chun. The fraud investigation wrapped up. I have the final report. I took the folder. Read it standing by the window, 32 floors above the city where I'd built everything David thought he owned. The evidence was clear. Forged signature. False claim. Pattern of deception. My legal team had documented everything. Send it to the State Bar Association, I said quietly. And to his malpractice carrier. Are you certain? This will, I know what it will do. I set down the report. He made his choice. This is the consequence. The hearing was 3 weeks later. State Bar Association, Professional Conduct Board. I didn't attend. I didn't need to. The evidence spoke for itself. David called the night before. I let it go to voicemail. Elena, please. They're going to suspend my license. I'll lose everything. The firm, my career, everything I've worked for. His voice broke. You won't even talk to me. After everything we had, you won't even. I deleted it halfway through. Everything he'd worked for. Not everything we'd built. Not everything I'd sacrificed for. Everything he'd worked for. Dorothy Hartwell, David's mother, came to see me the next week. I met her at a cafe near her house, neutral ground. I won't make excuses for him, she said, stirring her coffee. What he did was inexcusable. I know. But Elena, he's my son. I have to ask, did it have to be this way? Did you have to destroy him? I looked at this woman who had welcomed me into her family 17 years ago, who'd helped me plan a wedding on a shoestring budget, who'd believed in us. Dorothy, I didn't destroy David. I removed my protection. There's a difference. What do you mean? For 15 years, I made his life easier. I worked so he could study. I managed our finances so he could focus on his career. I kept my success quiet so he could feel like the provider. I set down my cup. I built an empire, Dorothy. I own the insurance company that protected his career. I own the building where he works. I own properties across this city. Her eyes widened. He never asked about my work. Never wondered how we could afford our lifestyle on his salary alone. Never questioned why I wasn't worried about money. I felt the weight of it. He didn't want a partner. He wanted an accessory, something to make him look successful while he climbed. He made a mistake. He made a series of choices. He chose to have an affair. He chose to steal my car. He chose to commit insurance fraud. I didn't make him do any of that. Dorothy was quiet for a long moment. What happens now? He'll lose his license for 18 months. The firm will let him go. They can't keep a suspended attorney as partner. He'll have to rebuild, find a new career path, or wait out the suspension and start over. And you? I'll run my company. I'll move forward. I'll stop making myself small for men who can't see my worth. She reached across the table, took my hand. I'm sorry he didn't see you. Really see you. Me too. 6 months after the divorce finalized, I was working late when Marcus buzzed my office. Ms. Chun, there's a David Hartwell asking to see you. I told him you're not available, but he says it's important. I looked at the clock. 7:30 p.m. The building was mostly empty. Send him up. He looked different. Thinner. She pursued. Tired eyes. He stood in my doorway like a stranger. Elena, thank you for seeing me. You have 5 minutes. He stepped inside, looking around. I've never been to your office. All this time, and I never even asked where you worked. I said nothing. I joined a small firm across town. Hourly contract work while I wait out my suspension. It's humbling. He tried to smile. Failed. I'm living in a studio apartment. Taking the bus. Shopping at thrift stores. I know that life. I lived it so you wouldn't have to. I know. He sat down uninvited. I thought about what you said. About me killing the man you married. You were right. I did. David, let me finish. Please. He looked at his hands. I spent 15 years believing I was the success story. The poor kid who made good. The attorney who clawed his way up. I never saw that you were the one making it possible. You were the foundation, and I built everything on you, then acted like you weren't there. I waited. I can't undo what I did. I can't fix it. But I can apologize. Really apologize, not just beg you to save me. He stood. You deserve better. You deserved a partner who saw you, who valued you, who built something with you instead of on top of you. Yes, I said simply. I did. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just asking you to know that I finally understand what I lost. Not the insurance policies or the career. You, the person who loved me when I was nobody. He walked to the door, paused. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you, of what you built, of who you are. He smiled sadly. I just wish I'd been proud of you when it mattered. After he left, I sat in the quiet office. No anger, no triumph, just peace. I'd spent years being invisible, being underestimated, being the woman in the corner who everyone overlooked. But I was never weak, never small, never less than. I was a woman who built an empire while the world slept. And when the man I loved tried to take what I'd offered freely, I showed him the difference between a gift and a right. David lost his career, his reputation, his comfortable life. I lost a marriage that stopped being real years ago, but I gained something immeasurable, myself, undiminished. My company, thriving. My future, wide open. The quiet woman in the corner was never waiting to be rescued. She was waiting for the right moment to stop rescuing everyone else. And when that moment came, she didn't just walk away. She walked up, 24 floors up, to the empire she'd built with her own hands. The totaled car was just metal and glass. What David destroyed was something he never owned, my willingness to be small. I replaced the car with a Tesla, drove it myself, parked in the CEO space with my name on it. And every morning, passing the 18th floor on my way to the 32nd, I remembered, some foundations are meant to hold buildings up. Others are meant to walk away when the structure built on them becomes a prison. I chose to walk, and I've never looked back.